Good morning. Good morning to each of you. I am Dr. Corrine Johnson, and I would like to welcome each of you on this morning to Grace for Today 5 minute devotions. And on this morning, our subject is going to be seek first to understand. Seek first to understand. And our key scripture is going to be coming from First Peter chapter 3 verse 8. And I'm going to be reading it from the NLT version of the Bible. And it says, "Be full of sympathy towards each other, loving one another with tender hearts and humble minds." And so when we think about being a peacemaker, it requires sympathy and empathy. When you're trying to resolve a conflict with somebody, the starting point is to listen carefully so that you can empathize with their feelings. And this is very important when it comes down to those married couples that are listening. When you're trying to resolve conflict, even though this morning we're talking about, conflict in relationships, period, but this is very important when it comes down to married people, because a lot of times when there's conflict, you listen to respond, but we want to make sure that we are listening to make sure that we're showing empathy with their feelings. And so sympathy is saying, I'm sorry you hurt. But empathy says, I hurt with you. And so when you value a relationship, you have to work towards making sure that you're empathizing with the other person's doubts, with their fears, and with their interests. And so their doubts may not be your doubts, but you got to try your best to empathize with them anyway. You may not have the same fears, but show sympathy and seek to understand their concerns. And so, whatever they are interested in, show interest in it as well. When somebody is hurting you, they don't need a lecture from you, they need a listener. And so, the reason people hurt others is because they're hurting on the inside as well. And that's why we have to look beyond the hurt that we're experiencing and begin to ask what is hurting them inside that's causing them to want to hurt me. And even though this may be a difficult thing to do, especially when you're angry, because you're naturally focused on yourself, right? That's just human nature, is to focus on you. But in order to be a peacemaker, you got to make a mental shift. When you sit down with a person that you've had conflict with, you got to take the lead and say, we're not going to avoid it anymore. We're not going to just appease each other and pretend that everything is okay. Let's deal with it. And one of the real values of conflict is that when you resolve it, it always creates greater understanding. And so the very thing that you think is often going to separate you is going to actually bring you closer and make your relationship even stronger. And so, in order to get to the issue and become a peacemaker, you got to learn how to sympathize and empathize with others. And that's what I mean from the subject this morning when we say seek first to understand. Because once again, people that are hurting, 9 times out of 10, they hurt other people. So instead of trying to practice karma go to that individual person and ask them the question, what's really going on? Let's not avoid this anymore. Let's not pretend that everything is okay between us. And then let's come to a place of resolve. And so on this morning, thank you all so much for tuning in and joining with me on today for Grace for Today 5-minute devotions. And it is my prayer that you will go forth on today. And as you go forth, seek first to understand. God bless you and have a great day.